Assalamualaikum, my name is Shaza. Today I'm going to talk the introduction of the historical development of political party in Malaysia. Dato' Anwar Jaafar, politic figure who played a leading role in the Merdeka independence movement and established for the Federation of Malaya, forerunner of the present country of Malaysia. After World War II, he became extremely active in Malayan politics. By 1946, the British had secured signature from all the Peninsular Malay sultans agreed to a Malayan union, one that would transfer political power from the sultan to a central government in Kuala Lumpur, and that would grant all the people in Malaya, regardless of race or religion, equal right as citizens. Opposite both the British and the Sultan, Dato' On led the protests against the union, holding that giving the economy dominant Chinese and Indian are a part of government would lead to the extinction of the Malay race. Convening a meeting more than 40 Malay organisations in March 1946 to oppose the union, Dato' On found out the United Malay National Organisation UMNO, a political party representing purely Malay interests. Now, Malaysian politics began with the establishment of a democratic, constitutional monarchy system of the federal representative, where the Yang di-Pertuan Agong is the head of state and the Prime Minister of Malaysia is the head of government. The federal and the state government, as well as each of the 13 state government, are responsible for exercising executive power. The federal parliament, as well as each of the 30 dons, is responsible for enacting law in the state. The judiciary is independent of the executive and the legislature. However, the executive retains certain power in the appointment of judges in the court. Malaysia had a multi-party system since the first direct election of the Federal Legislative Council of Malaya in 1955 on the first past the post basis. Right after independence in 1957, the political landscape in Malaysia evolved and focused attention to a better alliance among the three major parties: the United Malay National Organisation UMNO, the Malaysian Chinese Association MCA, and the Malaysian Indian Congress MIC. So here is a list of political parties in Malaysia.
Hi, my name is Nurdina. Today I'm going to share about a few demerits. First, in Malaysia, these parties are required to campaign statewide. This will effectively increase the spending of these parties, will cause the parties to invest more resources into high spending. For example, every elected representative needs support from the people to vote. A congregation of heterogeneous political elements may weaken a coalition government. For example, this may lead to a favorable competition among various stakeholders. If not managed properly, it's likely to lead to conflict and stunt the progress of the country. As a Malay-based joint party, UMNO claims to be in implementing Islamic ideas, accusing past of being a traditional party that hinders progress. Next, parties like UMNO, MIC, and MCA need money to operate to advertise properly. One of the parties that organize or launches their programs such as a rallies and will advertise on social media of a great facilities for public conveniences such as donating funds to the people. For example, the current situation that occurred when Pakatan Harapan formed the government and many policy. Next, another case in point, during the Pakatan Harapan rule, it is not an exaggeration to say that DAP is the backbone and has a strong influence in governing the country. All parties vying for a political power must convince the people to vote for them. For example, they must organize rallies such as advertising on social media and buying a broadcast time on radio and other television with the aim of attracting the attention of voters. This shows that to run multi-party needs more money to prosecute. Furthermore, this party may spend their resources on targeted voters. For example, each party must form a coalition to increase public support, as a multi-party system requires close political cooperation. A coalition approach to political groups on one platform to be a reserve. The parties also depend on money to organize rallies, as a multi-party system requires close political cooperation to form a party. Lastly, generate unnecessary rivalry that makes the electors normally vote for personalities, not for the programs. They do not even know who will form the government. Several parties are weighing for the limit price of controlling the country. Furthermore, each striving to outperform the others.
Dalam buku ini, dalam aku janji ini, jumlah BRIM akan dinaikkan lagi. Ialah kepada 1,200. Buku voucher untuk pelajar-pelajar universiti kita naikkan. Dan bantuan persekolahan semua murid sekolah pun kita naikkan. Tuan-tuan yang saya hormati sekalian, banyak lagi yang ada manifesto ini ataupun aku janji ini. Kita juga akan meningkatkan kecekapan pengangkutan awam. Kita akan laksanakan bus rapid di setiap bandar besar negara kita. Akan melengkapkan projek MRT, LRT dan komuter. Laksanakan projek high speed rail dari Kuala Lumpur ke Singapura. Tiap-tiap bandar. Kita juga akan teruskan agenda pembangunan luar bandar. Penyokong-penyokong tegar kita berada di luar bandar. Penyokong Barisan Nasional dengan begitu gigih selama ini.
My name is Nur Adibah and I will continue. This leads to political instability as the unhealthy rivalry, frequent political agreement and coalition make the government of a country weak and unstable. It can also damage the name of the government internationally and decrease the country prestige. The multi-party system is often very messy as it leads to the continuous change of power between different parties. In every election, a different party forms the government and every party has its own way of running government. Therefore, it leads to political instability. Next is the inability of the multi-party system to work together in creating cooperation, as well as the inability to achieve goals collectively. However, this split is not the only one that occurs as a result of political difference. It is also due to the internal competition gaining influence and competition to raise the economic wealth of the country. Weak political unity can lead to collapse and split. For example, the current political instability will affect the smooth process of economic recovery as a result of COVID-19, as well as the National Recovery Plan (PPN). It indirectly affects the process of introducing new policy more effective in reviving the economy with problems from COVID-19. This is expected to continue until the end of 2021 and next year. There are rumors that the Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Mohamed Yassin will resign as the 8th Prime Minister that day. Dissolving the government and holding a general elections is not the best solution at a time when the country is still facing a very serious COVID-19 problem. It is fair the number of cases of COVID-19 infection will be higher. Even the dissolution of Parliament and holding elections is seen as a waste to the country now. If this happens, in the short term, it will affect the country's economy. This will further aggravate the situation when the people and traders who are in the B40 and M40 groups are still facing financial problems to continue their livelihood. Prolonged political instability will affect many national development agenda. Especially in November, the government will announce budget 2022. So all involved should remember that the interests of the people must come first in this time of the pandemic.
If you ask me, it was handled very badly, and most of it is because of the political instability.
I'd actually also like to ask you, as someone who probably has a little bit more inside information that most of us do, how do you feel the entire pandemic was actually handled? Because there's so much criticism that it was done really badly, but maybe you know something we don't.
If you ask me, it was handled very badly, and most of it is because of the political instability. I think the PRN today, the local elections that's happening right now, is evidently something which I think not all Malaysians would aspire for. My party, for example, Pejuang, we don't want it at all. We think that this is not the way to go, and that it's not time yet in cases. Now the cases are at a plateau. So when the cases are at the plateau, I know some people will feel relieved, but even though the cases are at the plateau, the trend usually is it will spike up again. It will not, if it goes down, if the cases are decreasing, then we will be much more confident. But the cases are now at a plateau, so it means that it's still there. The amount is still there, and it may spike again. So we don't think that it's the right decision to have a local election right now. But other parties who go in, it's their choice, and basically they can't avoid it anyway because it was called in the first place. So these are some of the small things that I think has been very much mishandled by the government. I think this could have been handled way better. We remembered the first spike was because of PRN Sabah, and I don't want PRN Melaka to become another spike.
Kita yang tulus, kita yang tulus, kita yang benar, sinar harian.
My name is Nurfatin Alisa. Now I'm going to continue with the next demerit that will happen if there is a multi-party is implemented. It will encourage corruption in parliament. There are a few people representatives jumping parties solely for their own benefit. For example, those who jump parties are given bribes to follow other parties. For example, elected representatives are offered for a better position or get bribes in the forms of money with a large amount to join the party. As in the example, in the 14th general election of 39 MPs who defected the party until resulted in several times the Prime Minister changed in a short time. This shows that it will lead to bad effect to the country, where it shows unhealthy national democracy. Furthermore, the effects of the jump party will cause the people to distrust the government, especially foreign investor who will invest domestically because they did not perform any improvement for the citizens or country based on their promises. So here another example why multi-party can lead to corruption is one of the making bill to be passed. It also dispute the multi-party system encourage corruption because as we can see it is difficult for young leaders to give opinion or even to discuss important issues. This is because the action of some long-serving parties do not provide full cooperation and it is very difficult to obtain a consensus to make the bill pass. Therefore, the rules to party must win the majority. Thus, some parties in the parliament adopt a bribe in order to get high consensus vote so that the bill is passed easily without debating any with the rebels.
Suruhanjaya Pencegahan Rasuah Malaysia SPRM Johor sudah mengambil keterangan 4 saksi berhubung kes tawaran RM10 juta untuk lompat parti membabitkan ahli parlimen Sekijang Natrah Ismail. Pengarah SPRM Johor, Datuk Azmi Alias berkata, fasa pertama siasatan kes itu sudah selesai.
Dan catatan peringkat awal ini pun telah selesai. Dari segi keterangan dan evidence kita pada peringkat pertama ni, fasa pertama ni kita dah selesai dan kita pun dah serahkan kepada Departemen Negara juga untuk keputusan.
Beliau berkata demikian pada sidang media selepas perasmian Cakra Padat Pencegahan CPP yang disempurnakan oleh Timbalan Ketua Pesuruhjaya Pencegahan SPRM, Datuk Seri Syamsul Bahrin Muhammad Jamil. 9 Mac lalu SPRM Johor membuka kertas siasatan berhubung aduan tawaran rasuah RM10 juta untuk lompat parti.
The next one is election violence. Election violence is a common occurrence in the multi-party system. This is so because the existence of many political parties in the multi-party system and the competitions that go with it exposes the country to all forms of election malpractice like rigging. As example, according to the police reports, election-related violence targeting event planned by parties in the ruling Barisan Nasional and opposition Pakatan Rakyat coalition has increased as this election approaches. Violent incident is collected after the start of official election campaigning on April 20, Human Rights Watch said. Prior to that, political harassment was primarily limited to blocking access to meetings, loud noise, stone and egg throwing, and paint smearing on trucks and houses, though some violence has taken place. For example, in mid-April in Georgetown, Penang State 5 Excellence seriously beat 2 men putting up opposition party flags. And the other one is on April 23, unidentified people set off an explosive device at the Barisan Nasional rally in the northern Penang State that injured a security guard. And the last one is on April 25, Excellence threw petrol bombs at the Barisan Nasional office outside of Kuala Lumpur.
They promised to stay behind police barricades, but an hour after the official start of their rally, a small group of Percy protesters breached the razor wire and rushed for Independence Square. Thousands more followed. The police response was uncompromising. Soon the tear gas, chemically laced water cannon and more close-quarter tactics had forced almost all of the protesters back from the square. What followed was a period of relative calm. But when a group of protesters returned more than 2 hours later, there seemed little discipline in the police response. Here you can see one policeman aim a kick at an arrested protester before the camera is pushed away. Up the street, this man has already been beaten, but he gets one last slap for his trouble.
You can see this protest is far from over. Police are still pretty aggressively dealing with a number of the protesters. This is 2.5 hours after the initial burst through the barricades.
Shortly afterwards, while trying to film another protester being held and kneed, we were attacked by police and our camera smashed to the ground. Burst's organisers argue that the protest was necessary, saying a recent parliamentary report pledging electoral reform doesn't go far enough and won't be implemented in time for an election widely believed to be set for June.
Not fighting for any political party, but I want all our views to be represented in an equal manner.
We want to see a clean election and not something that is going to be manipulated. That's the reason why we're here.
Bursty says the protesters who breached the barricades deserve to be taken to task by police, but the police did more than take them to task. Neither side will be able to claim much credit from Saturday's events. Harry Fawcett, Al Jazeera, Kuala Lumpur.